Shabbat Shalom. Aaron Alexander was sitting in her car in the parking lot of the Fairfield, California Target, sobbing. Her beloved sister-in-law had passed away suddenly, and she was having a hard time making it through the day. She sat there and cried and cried and cried. And when the worst of it was over, she wiped her eyes and decided she would pop into Starbucks, grab a quick iced tea before trying to face her errand. As soon as she opened that Starbucks door, she could tell the barista was having a rough go of it. The poor barista was explaining over and over and over again, "I'm so sorry, the espresso machine is broken. I could do it, or we could, or I could." She was trying all these various workarounds to try to address everyone's caffeine requirements, but people were grumpy. And no matter what she did, she seemed to be behind and stressed and overwhelmed. When it was Erin's turn at the front of the counter, she did her best to shine the brightest smile she could manage and said, "Hang in there." A few minutes later, when her name was called, she was surprised to see a message had been scrawled on the side of her iced green tea. There was a heart, and to the side of it, it said, "Erin, your soul is golden." The barista could not have known the kind of strength it took for her to get out of the car. She couldn't have known her sister-in-law had passed away, that she was sobbing uncontrollably. But that note meant everything to Erin. As she shared recently with the New York Times, "That little thing made the rest of my day." Erin's story was included in a fascinating, recently published article titled "The Unexpected Power of Random Acts of Kindness." Researchers have noticed that these small gestures of kindness, like writing a note on someone's coffee cup or holding a door for a stranger, or just smiling at someone who doesn't expect it, can have an incredible effect on the recipient. But, as psychologist Marisa Franco explains, we have this negativity bias when it comes to social connection. We just don't think the positive impact of our behavior is as positive as it is. Now, researchers have studied this. They have done countless experiments. In one, they went to an ice skating rink, an outdoor ice skating rink in Chicago, where you guys know it's very cold. And they showed up with hot chocolate. And they're sitting there and they're giving out the hot chocolate, and they say to people, you can either keep the hot chocolate or you can give it to a stranger. Lots of people chose to give it to a stranger, maybe because they were being studied. But you probably should be less skeptical. But they give it to the stranger, and the researchers said to them, "What do you think is going to be the effect of your gift?" And over, people said, "I don't know, they're getting hot chocolate." But those recipients who got the hot chocolate reported a significant boost in self-esteem and happiness. That gift meant a lot to them. And researchers have done this again and again. They've seen this again and again. There was another study that involved cupcakes. This one's a little more complicated. There were 4 groups. One group comes in. As part of this study, you just get a cupcake. How do you feel getting a cupcake? Another group. If you were to receive a cupcake, how do you think you would feel? Third group. We're giving you this cupcake. You now need to find someone to give it to. How do you think they will feel? And of course, the fourth group, how did it feel when you got a cupcake out of the blue? Now, when they got the results back, unsurprisingly, the people who got a cupcake from a stranger out of the blue reported a significantly more happy reaction than did the people who just got a cupcake as a result of participating in the experiment. But those people who got a cupcake out of the blue from a stranger also were so much happier than either the giver or the control group had ever imagined. Okay, so you might be thinking, what's the big deal? So who cares? Random acts of kindness matter more than we think they do. Is that such a big deal? Does that radically change our world? I mean, Jewishly, we have this sense that the best kind of giving, the highest form of giving, is anonymous, where neither the giver nor the recipient knows who's giving, right? Rambam says that. The pinnacle of giving is anonymous, where you just don't know the impact. But researchers say that there's a risk, because when we undervalue the effect of random acts of kindness, we then disincentivize ourselves from doing those random acts of kindness. And that means certainly the people in our midst miss out, right? We're not contributing to a boost in someone else's day, but we also miss out. Because it turns out those pro-social behaviors, i.e. random acts of kindness, i.e. holding the door for someone or doing something nice out of the blue, they don't just help the people who receive them, but in study after study, they found that pro-social behaviors lower the stress of the person who's doing them. We miss out too. I've seen this in action here at Temple Emmanuel. Every year, in Join the Jewish Conversation, we do a unit on mitzvah projects. And every year we learn about Jewish values, and we think with students about where their passion meets the world's need, and help them to design projects. Now there's a tension, because our students want to do projects that have maximal impact. They want to raise a lot of money. They want to gather a lot of clothes or a lot of food. They want to be able to show that they've made a big impact. But often that means that they don't focus on the projects that have more intangible benefits. The projects like calling elders in the community, or watching smaller kids in the community, or reaching out and just doing random acts of kindness, they kind of get pushed to the side. Let me give you an example. This year I have a student who is working on a Devar Torah about theology. And he was looking for some more material for his Devar Torah. So not as a bar mitzvah project, not as a mitzvah project, he decided he was going to call elders in the community to ask them about their theology and what their connection to Judaism is like. And in his mind, this was an ask of someone else. This was an ask of someone's time and the way that somebody else would be giving to him. The other day, I got the following email. Subject: you just did a mitzvah. Here's the email. My college roommate, whom I loved dearly, died yesterday. I am really grieving her loss and have been so sad. I just opened my email, and here is such a sweet request from one of your students. It really lifted my spirits. Thank you for thinking of me. It's not just here at Temple Emmanuel that random acts of kindness can be magical. Let me tell you another story. 20 years ago, Ida Zugay was sitting on an airplane next to her sister. They had just fled the violence in Yugoslavia, and they were disoriented, not even sure where they were landing. They didn't speak any English. They couldn't understand anything happening around them. Out of the blue, a woman walked up to them and handed them an envelope. It had some message written on the front. They couldn't understand it. The woman disappeared, and they opened the envelope. Inside was a little bit of cash and a pair of dangly earrings. Now that cash was a godsend. They had nothing. When they landed, it enabled them to buy essentials to get situated. But more than the cash, the gift out of the blue, that envelope, became one of Ida's most treasured possessions. 20 years later, she still has it. Now she can understand the message on the front. I hope your stay in America will be a safe and happy one for you. Welcome to America. Please use this to help you here. Love, a friend from the plane, Tracy. As a result of that random act of kindness, Ida and her sister have both dedicated their lives to helping others. Ida works in the nonprofit sector. She is a representative, a delegate for Massachusetts in the Refugee Congress. Last year, when Afghanistan fell, she was instrumental in helping Afghan refugees to resettle here. And she's also launched a giant social media campaign because she wants to find Tracy, that woman on the plane who gave her that envelope all those years ago, who changed the course of her life. In this season, Shabbat Shuvah, the middle of the high holidays, we're all thinking about how we can become the best versions of ourselves. What are the big changes we can make? How can we prioritize our time to have the greatest impact? How can we do better in the year to come? That's why I want to talk about random acts of kindness today. If each one of us left this sanctuary and committed to doing one random act of kindness per day, that would create a huge change in the world around us. That would be a boost for us and a boost for everyone in our midst. On the high holidays, we beg God, please God, write us in the book of life. Don't forget, we too hold a pen. Gemar Chatima Tova.